when there is a whole system working against us which wants to break Sanatana Dharma, we can't afford to give them more chances to break us by airing our grievances and having public fights. Okay, so things can be ironed out in the background instead of making it public. So all this has to be done. We have to do the sadhana to free ourselves from ego and get to work. There's a lot to be done. It's time to use our own dharmic frameworks. So we need to, as I mentioned about terminology, we need to talk about the Chaturashrama approach, the Triguna approach, the Purushartha approach, Panchakosha, Karma approach, Panchamahayagnya approach, all this Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adi Adhyatmika, all these things, we need to now immerse ourselves in our own civilization so that we start looking at the world from our own lenses. Right now, we are using the lenses that were imposed on us. Namaste to everyone. It's an absolute privilege to come back to Sangam Talks because this is where it all began for me. In 2018, I delivered my first Sangam talk, and after that, it has been just learning and learning and learning for me. Time being one step and another step to know more and more. And it has certainly given me a lot of joy. So I'm glad to be back again on this platform where it all started for me. So what I'm going to talk about is why is it critically important for Hindus to be rooted in their civilizational knowledge? What is lost when a Hindu gets deracinated? How can the world benefit when Hindus remain Hindus? Now, I know the word Hindu is a bit of a limiting word. Some of you will say, don't use the word Hindu, say Sanatana Dharma following people, whatever it is. But you know what I mean when I say Hindus. And I want to talk about why it is critically important for us Hindus all over the world to understand what it means to be a Hindu and be connected to this great civilization. One reason I give to youngsters when they ask me, how does it matter? Why should I be Hindu? I mean, I don't need to be aware of what's happening in India or be connected with India. How is it going to help me? So the one thing I want to tell them is that if they are Indians, if they are Hindus, it will make you authentic. When you are connected with your own civilization, you become more. If you stay true to what you are, it makes you authentic. It's like aligning your swabhava with swadharma, your swadharma, which is a beautiful phrase I came across by Raghava Krishna. Aligning your swabhava with your swadharma. This happens when you get civilizationally rooted, and that makes you authentic. And if you think about it in your life, you like authentic people. You can make out when somebody is fake. You don't connect with somebody who is pretending to be something else. That authenticity, it comes when you connect with your own civilization. I could feel it happening for myself. Suddenly, it's no longer important to be like somebody, to put on an accent, to wear a certain kind of dress. You become very true to yourself, and that makes you very authentic and very honest. It makes you confident because once you are aligned to your real swabhava and your swadharma and your civilization, it gives you a certain confidence. It's unexplainable, this confidence. You will go into a place where there may be many learned people, but you still will not feel very, you will not be intimidated. You will want to ask questions. You'll be curious. So it makes you, and so you might be in a place where everybody is wearing a suit. Like for my case, I'm the only one wearing a sari. I don't mind. I'll wear my bindi. I'll be the most authentic self of myself. That happens when I am connected to my civilization. It leads to meaningful relationships. When you're authentic, it also means meaningful relationships. Fakeness will never get you anywhere. So that's another thing that I tell children, youngsters, why you need to be rooted. And it's also a path to realizing your full potential when you are rooted. When you go for job interviews, you'll not be faking. They also can make out if you're fake. They also want to know what's special about you, what's unique about you. And when you are rooted, that uniqueness comes out. It really does come out. It'll also come out in the essays you write when you want to get into universities. In the US, it's a big thing. So I tell the students that if you are connected to your civilization, even your essays are going to read very different from all the other hundreds of essays that will come to those examiners. So this is a very practical reason I give to youngsters. And here I have put a picture of Sridhar Vembu. Many of you would know him, the person, the Silicon Valley guy who moved back to Tamil Nadu. He realized what it means to be rooted and to be authentic, right? He started the Zoho Corporation, and he said, I'm going to involve the rural youth. I want to get the best talent out of the people in the villages. And so he went about training hundreds and hundreds of them in various skills needed in the IT industry. He's saying, I don't want degrees, I don't care for degrees, but I'll make sure they get the training that they need to become experts in what they do. And so he's doing that. And he's living the village life, gets up at 4 a.m., goes for a walk, swims in the village pond. He has even learned how to catch snakes and all those things. So this is real Ananda that Mukundji was talking about in his speech. So this is an example of somebody who got civilizationally rooted and he's successful, he's on the sadhana path and he's helping society. The other reason I say why you need to be Hindu is because only then you will know how to find bliss. I mean, a Hindu being sad, miserable, depressed, it doesn't make sense to me. If you are truly a Hindu, there is no way you can be sad, defeated, depressed. And I have also found that about myself. We are from the land of the Veda, Upanishad, Gita, Shastras. We are from the land of amazing gurus. How can you be sad or afraid? That's a thought that comes to me again and again. Think of COVID. When COVID happened, it was one of the worst things that we witnessed, the pandemic, the whole world coming to a standstill. You're all locked down in your own houses. You can't go out. So many people were depressed. What happened with all the education they got? They learned their physics, chemistry, engineering, everything. Did any of that help them in going through those times when parents were dying? Anybody could die any minute. I mean, somebody who's just well yesterday can be dead today, stops breathing, cannot breathe. So it was a time full of uncertainty. And at that time, it became very clear to me why being Hindu is helping me so much. So I was listening to discourses of some good gurus that I follow. And one of them was saying that this is the time that you stay with yourself and within yourself. And that made a lot of sense. It was the time of going within. He said, do not be distressed, do not be upset about what's happening around the world, people dying, and don't take recourse to entertainment, just watching movies after movies to, divert your mind away from all the depression. Just sit calmly and reflect. Think about deeper things. Think about who you are, what is your journey, and then slowly you will find a space of quiet, peace, and you'll not be sad anymore. So I found that happening even during COVID, that there is this deep reservoir of knowledge that all of us have access to. And especially if you are Hindus, if you are from India, if you are from Bharat, that knowledge is there for you to seek and search and take. There is also, I also had a brush with cancer in the last 6 months. And that time too, being Hindu helped me a lot. Being connected to my civilization helped me a lot. Because I suddenly, when I thought about it, of course, my husband, my daughter, they were all there to support me. My husband is sitting at the back there. He told me he wiped my tears and he said, I'm with you. That was, of course, the number one reason. And the other thing was finding that storehouse of knowledge and courage, which came by just knowing what was in our Shastras, what is in our Puranas, what our gurus have told. I felt that gave me so much of energy. All I had to do was just keep doing my dharma, keep doing what I was doing already. That is to learn more about our history and culture, take care of my daughter, take care of the house, keep doing it day by day and not worry. Don't think that, the world is going to collapse just because you have cancer. Let the doctors do their work. And then I just kept living my day and with happiness. And this whole thing passed like a night. Like a dream. It's over. It was over before I could know what happened. All I was doing was just taking inspiration from the reservoir of knowledge that we have. Everything. I mean, when there was nature, natural beauty around me, and I would look at it and I would connect it with something that I've read in the Shastras or in the Ramayana, and it was all giving me joy. So I felt like, how can anyone be sad when you have access to all these beautiful stories from the Puranas? You have these ways, the rituals. Simple rituals of lighting a lamp, praying to, you're going to a puja ghar and doing some puja every day. All of those were making me feel very elevated. So that is one reason I say that you will know how to find bliss if you are civilizationally rooted. So that's another argument. Another reason is that being rooted in Indian knowledge systems makes you a force for good. So our Jnana Parampara makes us take a big picture perspective as well as look at the subtler aspects. It's very different from being rooted in Abrahamic religions. Because if you're rooted in Abrahamic religions, you'll be taught that there is a God and there is punishment for what you do and things like that. And your mission is to convert everybody to worship that one God. But our Parampara is so different. It's not like that. So when you are rooted in your parampara, in our Jnana Parampara, it's always taking you towards a place of higher and higher happiness. It's making you do your dharma. It's making you think about others and not think about yourself. So you slowly get into that plane where your depression is not going to ever come to you. Even when you are in pain, you will find that place if you are connected to your Jnana Parampara. This parampara makes us see beyond our body, beyond our state, our country, beyond any boundaries, right? And then it looks at the connected systems and it looks at the whole humanity. That is the advantage of being connected to our Jnana Parampara. You become a force for good. And I was just thinking that if the whole world was rooted in Indian knowledge systems, would we be facing the huge disasters of climate change, pollution, accumulation of garbage in landfills, this cancer crisis itself, rivers filled with toilet waste, loss of species? If we were rooted in our knowledge systems, would we have been facing any of these problems? The answer is no. Because, there is this famous saying by Albert Einstein. He was saying you cannot solve problems with the same thinking that was used in creating the problems. So when the kind of thinking which was there, which created all these problems, if you stay within that thinking, you're not going to solve it, right? But the moment you connect your Jnana Parampara, all these things, even the solutions will come to you for solving these problems, the way of thinking. The entire, the paradigm shift happens when you are rooted in your Jnana Parampara. That is why it is very important if we want to solve these problems. Bringing back our Sanatana worldview is needed to come out of the mess we are in. Because if you cannot solve the problems by being rooted in the Western worldview, which was very exploitative, very self-centered, very selfish, that is not going to work. And just to give you an example, India was covered with thousands of sacred groves which protected millions of species. Until just 200 years ago, the whole of India, there were many sacred groves which were protected, from which you could not hunt anything. And it maybe some minimal amounts that the villagers used to live around could take, but they were completely protected. Now the indigenous people rooted in their Grama Devtas and forest deities, they took care of these forests. The onslaught of Christian proselytizers and later, of course, urbanization, which separated the people from their traditions, from their long-standing traditions connected with the forest, that caused immense damage to ecosystems, not just in India, but in America and Africa. Wherever they lost their connection with the traditions, those forests disappeared. So this is actually, I came across this paper which talks about how Christianity impacted sacred groves in Meghalaya. So it analyzes the attitudes, how that changed and how that affected the groves, how they got destroyed. So if I may read from this, in Meghalaya, in the past, rituals for traditional religions were performed at sacred groves every year or less frequently. Some ceremonies involved sacrificing an animal for the forest deity. With change in religious beliefs in Meghalaya, several rituals in numerous sacred groves are no longer performed. For example, residents of 4 communities studied in Meghalaya shared the last time rituals were conducted. In Mekarwat, over 60 years ago. In Maisonmai, 80 years ago. In another place 25 years ago, and then another place 50 years ago. So although half of these residents interviewed said the rituals are still performed, one person said there are no ceremonies now because of Christianity. So there is a direct link between these proselytizing religions which give you one God to worship, that one God, they make them all give up these deities that they used to earlier worship, and because of which they used to take care of natural, the natural resources, the forests, the rivers. And there's another example here also where a resident says in the next square here, And they said that they because of Christianity, they don't do ceremonies anymore. So this is a very important piece of evidence that going away from our religion, we can't call it a religion, but our way of life, Hinduism, is causing the destruction of these forests and our natural resources and species. So just look at how the attitude changed. Earlier, when we would go to hills, it would be to go to a temple. It would be a part of a tirtha. So we are going there to pay our respect to the deity. And then came the hill station culture. When we got colonized, the British people wanted to go to a cooler place in the hot summers. And that's how all the hill stations of India were developed. And that's how there are hotels and there are, they are just like any other cities now. This is how on the left you can see Shimla. That's how Shimla looks. And on the right, you can see one Tirthasthana, which is still there. But that is how all the Tirthasthanas used to be in earlier times, surrounded by forest. And it would be difficult to reach them. You would have to trek, you would have to climb. And that itself would be fun. So for the youngsters also, young and old people together would go. The younger people taking care of the old. And on the way, that would be their enjoyment. Climbing, whatever food they would get, the local food. That was what it was. And then the culture changed and came the hill station culture. So, now we go to hill stations because we want to stay in the hotel there. We want to do some skiing or we want to do some paragliding or something, have fun and come back. Nobody is going to even visit the famous old temples of that place. And I must confess, even I was like that. Just when I was in my teenage, we would go for holidays and I would say that I want to go and, I want to go to hill stations. Oh, no, I don't want to go to Vaishno Devi. I don't want to go to Badrinath. Because that's how I was educated in the modern education system, where I was completely disconnected from all these things. So this is something which happens. When you are disconnected, then you look at a place like this. You look at a place for enjoyment, for fun, and the spiritual element will go completely missing. And these people are not even aware that going on spiritual yatras can also be fun. If you talk to them, they don't know that it can be fun too. Now, I want to also give you, this is a graphic in my book, Revisiting the Educational Heritage of India, in which I've showed how when we were rooted in our knowledge systems, look at the knowledge revolution we created around the world. Look at all what the knowledge we transferred. So, if you go deeper into this diagram, I have given all the, the different countries, like what did we give to Greece and Egypt? What did we give to Persia and West Asia? What did we give to Japan, China, Europe? So we gave them medicine, knowledge of medicine, surgery, logic, grammar, linguistics, astronomy, foundation in calculus. You name it, we gave it. There was, if you go back to the origin of almost every discipline that is being studied in universities today, if you go back to the history of it, you will find that it has come from the culture of Gurukulas in India. So that is where that whole knowledge was, it came out because it was discussed, there were debates, it was written down, it was refuted across the centuries. In fact, debates took place across centuries. So something that a guru said 400 years ago is being refuted today by somebody who has come along now. So that kind of intergenerational debate took place and the knowledge got more and more refined. And that is what we did when we were rooted in our civilization. If you compare that with today, what are we giving to the world today in terms of knowledge? It's not much. It's nothing compared to what we did in those times, right? I mean, even if you look at Charaka's, if you look at the Hippocratic Oath, where the doctor takes the oath before, he starts practicing. Well, guess what? Charaka's Oath, if you ever go and look at it, you will find that it has come from there, of course. It has been copied from there because the Greeks took heavily from India. And that oath has 100 other things which is not there in the Hippocratic Oath about how to take care of the patients, how I am going to protect the privacy of the patient and not tell anybody about what is the diseases that, so if you see today, all those forms that we sign, indemnity form, where we talk about privacy of the patient and all that. Actually, in Charaka's Oath, all that is covered. How not to take advantage of a female patient, all that is there in that. So that all this knowledge came from India, and it came when we were rooted. We knew our samskaras. We knew various philosophies. We were going to our village Gurukula. We had respect for the elders, which is considered backward and unfashionable today. The reverence and respect is, it's considered as unfashionable. You will often be asked, I've been asked, Indians, why are they so reverential towards the elders? It's as if it's not Indian, Asians in general, because it's there all over Asia. It's seen as a negative thing. But that very culture gave rise to all this knowledge. So if you go back and see. So please do have a look at this graphic when you get my book. The other thing which happened is that we lost our terminologies because of deracination. So today the West is giving us all the terms. Okay, so a lot of knowledge from India went to the West via the Arabic lands, which were, our works were translated into Latin. So first our works were translated into Arabic and Persian, and then later they were translated into Latin. And that's how the knowledge of mathematics, science, so many other disciplines went to the Western world. But today, all the terminology that we use comes from what the West gives to us. And in a way, it is, I find it problematic because when we are the originator of those concepts, and it was we knew about these things long back, and now we are forced to follow the words that they are giving to us, right? So terms like one water. So in my past life, when I was the editor of Asian Water magazine, I quit some few years ago. So when I had gone to a water conference, and then a new concept was presented to us with a lot of drama, the concept of one water. And we were told that this is the same water that humans drink, that plants also use, and animals use. So we should think of water as one integrated entity, and we should plan for water according to that. And I was just looking dumbfounded. And of course, as a journalist, I could raise my hand and ask a question and ask, what is new about this? This is very much there in my culture, in my civilization. We think of all the natural resources as shared by everybody. And accordingly, we will always keep in mind that when we use something from a forest, we should not cut everything, because there are many other beings that will be using the forest. That was our original thinking until we got colonized. So then they became a bit sheepish, the persons on the stage, and they said, yeah, I mean, it's not a new thing, I agree, but we need to come up with terminologies, so that we can take forward the conversation, something like that. And then a few years ago, I came to know about One Health. This was in 2017. They're talking about the health of humans, the health of animals, and the health of the environment is all connected. So we should call it One Health. Now, again, please tell me what is new about this. What is in this that we did not talk about, which Sushruta didn't talk about, Charaka didn't talk about, or which a villager did not talk about? We all knew that systems are interconnected. The ill health of one river or water body is going to affect the health of so many people. And that's the reason we have to keep our water clean. The systems approach, all these terms are given to us from the West, which are actually our concepts. Gaia, a few years ago, you might have heard about Gaia, that, let us, in order to protect the environment, we have to create new concepts. So let's talk about Gaia, who was a Greek goddess, the goddess of so we should think of the earth as a living organism. And when you walk on it, you should think it's a living organism. And again, I'm saying, what's new? Bhumi Devi. I mean, we think of the Bhumi Devi. Every morning we get up, before we put our feet on the ground, we pray that, we do not do, we don't harm you. So we are always thinking of the mountains and the rivers as part of the body of Bhumi Devi. So again, we are now forced to, use these concepts like Gaia. So when I see an Indian being very excited about the Gaia concept, I just shake my head. A few days ago, or a few months ago, I was shocked when I saw the CEO of Google talking about non-sleep deep rest, which was giving him a lot of comfort and helping him to sleep at night. So, of course, many of you would already have guessed it means Yoga Nidra. And he didn't use the word Yoga Nidra at all, nowhere in that interview, nor did he know it has come from India. He talked about some Stanford neuroscience professor, Andrew Huberman, who invented this concept of non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, and how he's telling you all might want to try it. Have some look at the YouTube videos of NSDR and it might be helpful. And I was just banging my head. Of course, alternate nostril breathing is always there, is already there. People do it in the West. They don't call it pranayama and they think it's some great thing which is there, which they have no idea of the origin. Super brain yoga. That took me by storm. You know what is super brain yoga? It's nothing but holding your ears like this and sitting up and down. The utak baitak punishment we used to get in school, that is called super brain yoga, because they have done some research and they found that if you do it so many times, it takes away your hyperactivity. So hyperactive children, if they are made to do this utak baitak, then it seems they become calmer and quieter. So they're calling it super brain yoga because the brain is now getting a chance to think and develop in these children. So just imagine the amount of knowledge which is there in our culture, in our knowledge systems that we are not exploring, and not giving these terms to the world with a greater emphasis, right? There are many other terms. I mean, as you go through life, you will find many of these, and so it's time that we put a stop to this. We need to supply terminology from our drishti, okay? Because that is also more complete, more holistic in the way it comes. So we have been extremely slow in waking up to the need of building up our own narrative. So we have not only lost the narrative, we have also lost the concepts, the terms. In being civilizationally rooted, we need to build a stock of new terminology derived from our drishti, which are relevant to modern times. We can always concoct new terms too. We don't have to just use the old ones. Make new terms and use them, make them popular, but which comes from our civilizational roots. There are a few, today there are a number of writers, authors, thinkers who are coming up with such terms like intellectual kshatriya. Then we have Rajiv Malhotra ji, who spoke about reversing the gaze, which is a very good term. Why is the West always having a gaze on us? Why are we not reversing the gaze and analyzing the West from our drishti? Why are we not looking at their society from our drishti? Right? Urban Naxal is another term that came recently. Vivek Agnihotri coined it. Western universalism is a great term. We should use these terms. The Western universalism. So whatever is, the West believes that what it is doing or saying is, it has to be universally applied, because they don't like too many differences. Even though they talk about diversity and everything, they actually want a homogeneous world. So terms like the Shatru Bodh. Recently, one of my friends came up with a term Shatru Bodh, which I liked very much. That though now it's very improper to talk about the other, but actually it is important to know the other. Since our civilization is very different from the Abrahamic culture, we should know what is special about us and what is different about the others. The Shatru Bodh, understanding the Bodha of the Shatru is important. I recently coined this term palms folded, because everywhere I was hearing this fingers crossed. Oh, fingers crossed, I hope it doesn't happen to me. I said palms folded, I hope it doesn't happen to me. That's my culture. So, things like this, think about it. Touch wood. What is this touch wood? If you go into it, it actually refers to a wooden cross that people used to wear. So we need to... RIP. Huh? RIP. So, why are we adopting all this rest in peace kind of, this doesn't apply to us at all. What is this rest in peace? Our Atma will keep journeying. It will keep going forward. I'll say, have an adventurous journey. Atma, let it continue forward in his journey. That's ours is Om Shanti. Om Shanti, but I also say, may the Atma move forward in his journey. Something like that, right? Huh? Sadgati, all those things. But RIP, I can tell you, you will find it. You can write about it in every post of yours on Facebook or Twitter. But 10 days later, somebody will die, and again you will see RIP from your own friends coming under that. So that's very common. We got colonized, so we lost a whole lot of knowledge, and we lost the terms also. So I am kind of challenging everyone here to try and use our own civilizationally rooted concepts to come up with terminology. Being rooted is necessary to avoid being erased. So I gave you the reasons, some reasons I gave you for being rooted is that you will be authentic, you will derive a lot of bliss from it, you will be happy, and you also needed to get some terms, to give terms to the world, terminology, but it's also to avoid being erased. Hold on to Indian knowledge, traditions and narratives, or they will be erased or appropriated or used to create false narratives. This is the truth. Somebody earlier was talking about Hindu phobia. I totally know that narrative, what's happening out there in the West. So in the global discourse today, the source of all knowledge is Greek. Pythagoras, Democritus, Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, Hippocrates, and so on. I wouldn't mind it if it was true. If it was true, and if Greeks really had given us all this knowledge, I would be really grateful to them. But it's not the truth. So in my book also I have traced how in the Greeks got knowledge from India. By Pythagoras never invented that theorem, how he was very much enthralled by the Indian gurus, how especially he was enthralled by the concept of rebirth. And because in those days, Indian teachers used to be going all over to West Asia. They used to travel. And they would be teaching all these concepts. In fact, Pythagoras was made fun of by his peers because he is so influenced by the Indians. One of the things he really took very seriously was vegetarianism. Pythagoras, and you'll find this is documented. This is not some right wing, Raita wing telling you these things. So you will find it documented. So there is Apollonius, Eusebio, so many philosophers who are saying that what is Pythagoras doing? Why is he gone vegetarian? It makes no sense. What he's taking all rubbish from India. So there were a lot of skeptics, of course. But ultimately, thanks to Pythagoras and his Shishyas, the concept became popular. They all, because before that, they didn't know that animals also have an Atma. They did not think that animals could feel pain, or they just thought of them as things, because that's how in the other religions all creatures exist for the enjoyment of human beings. So you can do whatever you like with them. So Pythagoras was taken by storm when he was told that all these have atmas and they are probably reincarnated. They were something else in a previous birth, and now they have come as come as animals. So all this he took to heart, and he turned vegetarian, and he used to make all his Shishyas turn vegetarian as well. So in fact, if you read, there's a book on the history of vegetarianism, and it gives a lot of credit to India, how so many people were influenced by this. Even British people later in life, even just 200, 300 years ago also, those who gave up meat were deeply influenced by Indian thought systems. This Ralph Fitch was a traveler, English traveler. When he came to India, he was astonished to find hospitals for animals. And he wrote in his memoirs, he said, I have been around the world, but I have not seen hospitals for sick cows, sick dogs, sick birds. They do all that. And he said, I am also surprised that some of them are very old animals. They are going to die, but they're still taking care of those animals. I don't understand. They're not going to eat these animals. Then why are they taking care of it? Just see the difference in the worldview. But today animal hospitals are there everywhere. I live in Cornell University, and next door there is an animal hospital, veterinary hospital. But nobody knows that Indians were the earliest to think about taking care of animals' health, bird health. Okay. Now, WhatsApp forwards of statues of Aryabhatta and Sushruta, when they come, we get very excited that, our Indian knowledge is being valued. But this does not depict the reality of the discourse. Most people don't know. In global academia, in research, there is very little acknowledgement of the enormous work of body of knowledge that India gave to the world. So they know yoga, they know Ayurveda, maybe dhyana, pranayama, but all this is being secularized and it's being dissociated from Sanatana Dharma. If I go and learn yoga today, if I want to learn yoga today anywhere in America, I'll find 100 teachers ready to teach me. Most of them will not tell me that yoga came from India, and they will all be giving the names of the asanas as dog pose, camel pose, those kinds of things. That's it. So there is a lot of work to be done here. There is also a growing industry that seeks to demonize Hinduism. So it's interesting. When yoga first went to the West, when Swami Vivekananda and all the others took yoga, it was received very happily. And they all, they practiced it, they found the benefits. But over a period of time, some resistance has also come because Christians are saying that it's a threat to our religion, because they are saying something which refers to idol worship. So it is not connected with our religion. So this is Hindu. And so they are demonizing yoga. That's one thing which is happening. And on the other side, you have people saying that yoga is not part of any religion. Yoga is for everybody. It has nothing to do with Hinduism. So both things are happening. And both things are not good for us, actually. Both of them are not the truth. And the other dangerous thing is that I'm seeing a lot of documentaries on yoga gurus, which are showing them in a bad light. Articles about yoga gurus. So, for example, in NPR, just a few weeks ago, there was an article talking about how yoga actually is conducive to sexual harassment, because it's a state, when the guru, the teacher will be touching the body of the student, doing different poses, and so it leads to these situations where sexual harassment happens. So can you believe it? So these kind of things are coming out in documentaries, and a number of people, if you see the comments below it, they're saying, yeah, that's the reason I don't want to learn yoga, because it has all these kinds of... So in fact, it was under that article that I had a huge fight. I know people like Professor Mukund will say, you're wasting your time on social media. But I actually select certain idiots and specially go and respond to them. You have to be strategic. You can't just go and perpetually be on social media fighting wars, because that'll drain you and it'll eat up your time. But say if you are there for 2 hours in a day, select the idiot that you want to attack, because then, and in, so I chose this idiot on under the NPR article, the comments. And when I took him on, I got like hundreds and hundreds of likes, and a lot of other people, the Americans, were actually agreeing with me, because I wrote about how this knowledge is not for everybody. So this knowledge, this guru who is doing wrong things, didn't have the adhikara to teach yoga in the first place. So, the way yoga is being given to you all is just the asana is being taught, and the darshana and the whole ecosystem around it is not coming to you. So you're just learning it as a pose, and that's why it is harming you. All kinds of stupid people are teaching and doing these kind of things. So anyway, it led to a dialogue, and some of those people started following me. They are now reading what I write. So I think sometimes, in a strategic way, we should engage with the opponents, but be selective in whom you are going to engage with. So, yoga, Brahmins, ceremony of vivaha, caste, patriarchy, all this is being associated with as a negative thing about Hinduism. Okay. And malicious content is being created and targeted at youth. So don't be under the impression that, I have raised my children well, everything is fine. No, because once they are in university, they are being influenced by Equality Labs and a bunch of other organizations that you may not have heard of, but they are very well organized, and they target the youth and tell them about caste and patriarchy and this things like Kanyadana in Vivaha, in Indian marriages, which is so women, insulting towards women and things like that. So this is happening, and so that is why being rooted is necessary to counter these narratives. Because if you yourself don't know how to counter it, then you will not be able to explain to your children, and then they will carry it forward, and then one day they'll say, okay, I don't want marriage, I don't want this, I don't want to have children. All those things come because they're not rooted. So let's come to some solutions. How can we strengthen our civilizational roots? What can we do? I will start with be rooted in Ramayana and Mahabharata. That's very, very essential. In earlier times, it used to be part of our curriculum. If you see Dharampal's Beautiful Tree, the book where he talks about the early, before the British took over, what was the education system like. So in that you will find that Ramayana and Mahabharata used to be part of the curriculum in schools, Pathshalas. Not even Gurukulas, but Pathshalas also had them. So this is very important. When you are rooted in Ramayana and you are being taught different aspects of Ramayana, it leads to a lot of discussions. It leads to, through Ramayana you can teach Sanskrit. Through Ramayana you can teach values. Through Ramayana you can teach art. There's so many things you can teach via these epics. And in fact, in the Gurukulas that I'm visiting now, after writing my book, I have started going around India looking at Gurukulas. And one of those I visited was Vidyakshetra near Bengaluru. And it's beautiful the way they are teaching Ramayana at every stage. So at a younger age, they will teach Ramayana in a different way. As they get older, they get deeper and deeper into the text. And so they discuss Sita, whether what Sita did was right or wrong, what should have been done, and they discuss everything, and then it is all given to them in a proper perspective. So that's what it is. And it is so relevant even today that when I was watching a Yakshagana program, Karnataka, is famous for Yakshagana. I was watching it in a cultural festival, and I have read Ramayana so many times, I know everything. One would think, what more is there that I can learn from Ramayana? But believe it or not, even today there is something new that I get out of it. So I was watching the scene where Sita was kidnapped, right? Apaharana. And how, first of all, she got enamored by that golden deer. And that golden deer was dancing all over the stage, prancing around. And she wants it desperately. And I was looking at it and thinking about it. How could Sita do this? Why could she not know that it was not a golden deer? How can there be a golden deer? Of course, Rama also tried to convince her. But she wanted it. And at that moment, of course, it sounds horrible. She was, as a result of that, she was taken away to Lanka and, all the story that followed. But then when I was reflecting, I thought, okay, it was that which led to a regime change in Lanka. Finally, that one incident where she was enamored by the deer, Rama went to get it, and then Lakshmana went behind him. She was taken away. And ultimately that led to so many things happening, but it was good. In the end, it was all good. So you reflect on many things. When you look at Ramayana, you will connect it to your life. It will also be cathartic in many ways, because when you see the whole Ramayana, they say that it's good for you. That's why they have all this Ram Katha, which happens, the whole night chanting, or sometimes just one kanda. When they do it, and I used to wonder, when I was very disconnected from all this culture, I used to think, why do they keep listening to this Ramayana again and again? Don't they know the story? But now when I sat through one such Ram Katha, I realized what it is. It kind of cleanses you. It also connects with incidents in your own life, and you feel refreshed when you come out from a Ram Katha. So be rooted in Ramayana and Mahabharata. That's one thing I would suggest. And also your children, you have to make them, expose them to this. Be rooted in Puranas, Gita, other Shastras. Be rooted in Nyaya, Panchanga. All these are amazing segments of Indian knowledge systems. If you connect to any one of them, even if it's just Nyaya, and go deeper into it, it'll give you so much of enjoyment, so much of fun in learning, and it'll explain a lot of concepts to you. So many things that you have not thought about or you have not understood. But when you go into it, go into any Shastra in a little bit of depth, it is complete in itself. It makes you think in different directions. Patronize classical music and dance. This is very important to be rooted. Classical Shastriya Sangeet has to be patronized. It's sad when people do not go to concerts. I feel very sad if I see artists are not being respected. A few days ago, there was a concert and everybody wanted to listen to the popular singer and they were booing the classical artist, and that was very upsetting for me. Because classical music is going to carry forward the legacy, all that knowledge which is there from our gurus. The classical music and dances also have that same knowledge. They have to be propagated, they have to be preserved. Folk music, dance, martial arts, all of these are repositories of knowledge. So folk music, already Yakshagana, I told you. I was watching Bihu, the Assamese dance. Again, very exhilarating. I was in the middle of a very stressful session, and then came this Bihu dance. And Bihu dance, just watching them made me feel so happy, so exhilarated. So folk dances also have this capacity to make you very happy and connected to your roots. Martial arts. So I was at a conference in Kerala a few weeks ago, and Kalari Payattu was one of the things that was talked about in that conference. But what they said is all the delegates have to come tomorrow morning and do Kalari Payattu. I thought, what is this? I mean, I can't do it. How can I do those difficult things? So I thought I will not go. But then I saw the principal, everybody in that institution, everybody is planning to go. So I said, okay, let me just go and see what happens. Kalari Payattu. Then we all lined up and we all, on the stage, they were showing us what to do. And then I started doing a few things. I was extremely jet lagged that day. I had not slept more than like 3-4 hours in the night. I don't know, after 1 hour of doing whatever they're telling me, to whatever ability, I could not bend as much as the others were bending. I just bent half of that. But all the breathing, dynamic breathing, they told us, the dance-like moves of the martial arts. After doing it, I don't know what happened to my jet lag. It was all gone. So then I realized the value of these arts, martial arts also. All around over India, there are different kinds of martial arts. They are also a bit like dance. Some of the things are like dance moves, but that is only when they are practicing. When they are actually fighting, it will be real fighting. But doing all these things also gives you that energy. It fills your prana shakti. It gives whatever you have lost comes back to you. And this used to be a part of our Gurukula education. So in many of these Gurukulas that I visited, they are starting the day with some kind of martial art in the morning, or they are doing yoga, and then they go on to other subjects. Visit the temples in your own city, as well as every city you go on work or vacation. I think that's important because many of us have stopped going to temples and we are actually deracinated. We just think that, I am not the temple going type. Even I used to be very proud of that. I am not the temple going type. But now I know what a price is to be paid if you don't go to your temples, if you don't connect with the community of people there. It works against your religion, your beliefs, because those are the people who will come up with those narratives against Murti Puja, against Vivaha. It's because of not going to the temples and understanding what is happening there, right? The rituals. Talk to the Purohitas when you go to temples. Do that, because you should also know their life. They are also very neglected, not well paid. Many people think that, they must be getting a lot of money. They don't. Many of them are living just hand to mouth because whatever is put in the hundi goes to the government, most of it, and they are just living very, not they're not leading affluent lives. They're basic, they're not even having the basics for education also. And so some of them, the children don't want to become purohits. So please give them motivation. Tell them that you appreciate the work they are doing. Learn basic Sanskrit. That's also important if you want to be rooted. Uh, I used to think Sanskrit is a very difficult language. I'll never be able to learn it. And so I never tried. Until when I was in America, there was a beautiful camp conducted by Samskrita Bharati in which both me and my husband went. And it was so much fun. So much fun when we were trying to string sentences from whatever words we knew in Hindi or Kannada. We were trying to make sentences in Sanskrit. And eventually we discovered we know a lot of Sanskrit. It's just that we don't know the Vyakarna, but we know the Sanskrit words. So just that one camp gave me so much joy that I did a few more courses. So I know a little bit more of Vyakarna now, and I can imagine if one goes deep into the subject, how scientific you're going to become, how systematic you'll be, how logical you'll be. To remember the rules and the meta rules. Just learning Sanskrit itself will also make you very rooted. Or Bharatiya languages also. I mean, I'm not just saying Sanskrit. Because in Bharatiya languages, the poetry that you will get, the prose you will get, the stories you will get, they are extremely valuable to make you feel very connected and very happy and very authentic. So Bharatiya languages also. Educate yourself about history, traditions, and the real meanings of customs. That is very important if we want to strengthen our civilizational roots. I am finding that many parents are not really explaining to their children the meanings of rituals. They're just forcing them to do it. But if you explain it if you first of all understand yourself, the parents understand and then pass it on to the children, they will realize that it's so cool. Oh, really? I really want to do this, right? Why are we using this leaf for this puja? Why are we using haldi and kumkum as Dr. Mukund mentioned? All these things will make you feel a lot of love for this civilization and a deep connection. And all this will help you when you're down. So connect with the larger community, volunteer at temples, non-profits. There are many non-profits that are struggling to do good work. We should be contributing to them. Donate to Gurukulas which are doing good work because they will create the model citizens of tomorrow. I have been very impressed with some of the Gurukulas that I visited where the students are learning from a very young age about self-control, right? They know because it is this period of life in the Brahmacharya period. If we don't learn self-control, how to control your desires, then later in life it will be a disaster. Many of the problems that we see in society is coming from not having a proper brahmacharya period in the Gurukulas, right? So all the jealousies, okay, I don't have a boyfriend yet, I don't have a girlfriend, or I'm not doing well in studies. All these things would not happen if they're well grounded in the brahmacharya, Ashtanga yoga, and being under the guidance of a guru in a Gurukula. So I am devoting a lot of energy to helping Gurukulas, to getting contributions to them so that they can be a good alternative or maybe become mainstream one day. And that's my dream, too far off. But, and some of the students that I'm seeing now in Gurukulas, like in Vidya Kshetra, they are very well equipped to take on the world. Because that Gurukula, I saw that they are doing, they have 250 experiments in their laboratory where the students are very, very well rooted in science. At the same time, they speak Sanskrit very well, Kannada very well. They know about all the, Pancha, the Pancha Kosha. They know the various constructs in our narrative, in our Shastras. And they are rooted in that. And then they are so good in science and maths. Imagine what kind of world beaters they are going to be if we encourage these kind of institutions. Encourage scholars and influencers who are devoting themselves to researching topics at civilizational level. Please, this is a service that you all need to do. Please read the books. Now there are a number of us who are writing books on our history from our perspective. We are rejecting the colonized versions of our history. We are going to the original sources. We are trying to understand the context and then presenting it. Please encourage all of us authors. Engage strategically in different Kurukshetras, as I mentioned. Academia, politics, social media, all of these are different Kurukshetras where there is actually a Mahabharata war being fought even now. And so we need to find what we are best equipped for, what we are best suited for, and get into that. Because yes, it's true that you need to be self-aware, you have to be on your sadhana path, but if you can also devote some time for this, engaging strategically in these different Kurukshetras, it will be very helpful because it will have a mass impact. many people will be influenced and will come in this direction. And we know why it is good for the world to move in this direction towards Sanatana Dharma. Please help to make Sanatan Dharma cool to the next generation, because today it's all about coolness. So show them how cool it is by first understanding it yourself, getting that anubhava, and then how it feels. Help the next generation also to get that anubhava. Do sadhana to free yourself from ego and work with detachment. Collaborate and help others to collaborate. It's very important. I'm seeing a lot of Hindu organizations caught up in these ego struggles, ego issues, and so somebody is not being allowed to come up even though that person is more capable. All these things needs to go. And sometimes, the grievances are aired out in the open in social media instead of working behind the scenes to ensure that all this is sorted out, because once you air the grievance out in the open, people know the cracks and they'll hit you more there. When there is a whole system working against us which wants to break Sanatana Dharma, we can't afford to give them more chances to break us by airing our grievances and having public fights. Okay, so things can be ironed out in the background instead of making it public. So all this has to be done. We have to do the sadhana to free ourselves from ego and get to work. There's a lot to be done. It's time to use our own dharmic frameworks. So we need to, as I mentioned about terminology, we need to talk about the Chaturashrama approach, the Triguna approach, the Purushartha approach, Panchakosha, Karma approach, Panchamahayagnya approach, all this Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adi Adhyatmika, all these things, we need to now immerse ourselves in our own civilization so that we start looking at the world from our own lenses. Right now we are using the lenses that were imposed on us and we don't even know, like I mentioned about that fingers crossed and things like that. So we have to free ourselves from that. We have to get back our own lenses and use our own language. So with this I come to the end. This is a picture of a Gurukula I visited in Gokarna. It was amazing. I saw all these these children are having a Panchanga class. They are learning about astronomy in that class. And I can tell you that Panchanga is another subject that if you connect with Panchanga, you will find that so many things in astronomy that you didn't understand before in school and college will become clearer if you learn the Panchanga. So I wanted to end with a picture of this Gurukula, which was a good model for a Gurukula. So thank you very much. Let us all be connected to our civilization and strengthen it, because that is how we are going to strengthen our the future. The future will be, if you want to solve the problems of the future, it's very important to be connected to our own dharma. So thank you very much.
Sana, that was a good talk. I just had a comment, not a question, actually complimentary to something you said. One thing I notice, because I come every year, spend a few months, and in the last 2 or 3 decades, this problem has become much, much worse than what it used to be. Which is, I'm finding many teenagers who don't know any of our languages. And the worst part is they don't even know good English. Even their English is terrible, but they don't have a mother tongue, because the parents talk to them in English. In the schools, I'm told in certain schools, they will fine you if you speak in your mother tongue. Like if you don't speak in English, every time you do that, they put a fine. They have to pay 10 rupees or something. I cannot imagine this happening in our country. I just cannot imagine that, because um, as you know, I'm from Karnataka and my mother tongue is Kannada. But when I look at some of the amazing literature, I'm not even talking about spirituality per se, but just in general literature. Amazing novelists like Dr. Bhairappa, for example, in Kannada, or a spiritual poet. His name was D.V. Gundappa, you might have heard of him. There's one work called Mankutimana Kagga, which all of us knew when we were children. All of us, it doesn't matter who you are. These were taught in schools. And today, forget about knowing his work. People have not even heard of his name. Like the young people, they don't even know he existed. And this was just in a span of 50 years. I'm talking about this happened. So one request I have on your behalf, since you're talking about it, to everybody, not in this room, but to whoever listens to these talks, is that please, please, please talk to your children in your mother tongue to start with. Because if they don't even know the mother tongue, they don't know, they will never know the culture, they'll never make an attempt to look at the literature, and we really, over time, we will lose it. We'll completely lose it.
Right.
And so I just wanted to just a quick comment, because we can learn Sanskrit and all these things, but the children should at least be able to speak in their mother tongue and write in their mother tongue. I think that's
I think you couldn't see my slide. I had written learn basic Sanskrit, and below that I said learn Bharatiya languages. I totally understand.
no.
Absolutely. Mother tongue is very important. It will, in fact, there is now a move that in India also under the NEP, the new education policy, they want to make children learn in the mother tongue. I think until class 6, fifth standard. That's a very, very welcome move, because they say that when you learn mathematics and science in your own mother tongue, the neural networks will work in such a way that you will understand better. So that has been found scientifically proven that if you study at an early age in your own mother tongue, you will understand the subject better. Cognition is
That is only if.
Just one observation. So I think what we have discussed here is, of course, very meaningful. It's wonderful to have this discussion, but this is, I think, one thing which we all should understand. There's a role, an institutional role as well. So when we're talking of yoga, we may sing praises of yoga and pranayam, but I think a large number of people may not understand unless until it gets a kind of, say, recognition from, say, abroad. And abroad we are saying is that yoga becomes cardiac rhythmic breathing, yoga becomes something else.
alternate
Because
nostril.
to a large extent our institutions are not doing that much of research which meets international standards. Those we see Indians doing, they're doing, who are in Harvard or some other prestigious universities. So they are not getting that kind of recognition, because Indians won't understand unless it is coming from Stanford or Harvard. This is a truth. So we need to create those institutions. We need to have that much of research in our institutions, which becomes popular internationally, and it coming from India, that okay, yoga and pranayam or other Indian practices have these healing powers or its practical usage. Similar case of environment also, as you talked about a lot many things, we say it's in our scriptures, but again this is something wherein the governments also need to come in and make sure. We are also seeing environmental disasters, by the way, in hill stations there was some recent news. So I think that is something we need to put in practice as well, because therein we can't simply say कि हमारे ग्रंथों में तो ऐसा नहीं था, but in real life we also building hotels, we also building those highways. So somewhere we have to see what exactly we can do practically. Because
No, we just perpetuated the hill station culture which was there, because once the Sahabs left, then we also wanted to live in those bungalows and see how it feels like. Oh, okay, we also want to do the same things they were doing on an accelerated scale. Yes, so we have to go back to our granthas and start living it and writing about it. Living it. And our journals, we don't have those kind of journals where we have probably, but they're not as good. So we need to have those journals with high quality research in it, which we ourselves talk about, which our media reports on, that this, hey, look at this great research that has come, like they do for the Western research.
I just want to add very small. Sir, his native language is Kannada. मेरी हिंदी है. The only thing, English is not bad. It's a good platform for India. I think it's a very good platform because we have so many different languages. But the problem is that in villages area, in low areas, you see that people, if you speak in English, people chase them. So it's not also bad because it's a technology language, everywhere is English. But thing is that they have to also realize that their own mother tongue, how it's important to learn a language. If you know other language, the like poetry and other things, you can only understand in your language. Like you say that we need to learn the Sanskrit. Why? Because the feeling we come the Sanskrit that don't come in English on translation. So I think that is the motto we should focus more, in my opinion.
No, so the English is another language. By all means, learn as many languages as you can. So learn English. But then your mother tongue is the medium of instruction should be the mother tongue to a certain age or even beyond, so that you understand it in your mother tongue. But yes, by all means, learn English. It is an international language.
One term is used in many in today's world, like eugenics. I think you know about you.
Mhm.
What's your drishti on this
Eugenics,
term? Eugenics.
which is about
Garb
genetic modification.
sanskar, like garb sanskar trainings in Western culture.
Prenatal education, which means when the child is in the womb, then exposing them to
In
certain.
our Indian culture, but they termed as eugenics.
Okay. Well, I don't have too much knowledge about this.
But they train, they use the word eugenics for the.
No, I think eugenics is something else.
It's about hereditary science.
Yes, I think that's something else. Eugenics is something else. I think you are.
But
Yeah.
they termed as eugenics training courses for the garb sanskaras.
Well, okay, only if you are only asking about Garbha Samskara, I find that quite relevant. But I mean, I don't know very deeply about it.
But they advertise the word eugenics to the Western world for the
I thought eugenics was about genetic manipulation in order to achieve.
genetic change in their DNA.
Okay.
I'm not a regular student of Sanskrit, but like on and off. And that is because of the presence of few people in my life. But there's one person I wanted to share, and maybe you would like to connect. I feel it's a very inspiring story. My Sanskrit teacher from Kerala, he is educated in the traditional Gurukula system. So it's like where you have one-to-one teaching. Not like many students, only one-to-one. And he studied for 14 years. And for those 14 constant years, it was 2 a.m. in the morning, where he had to cycle for 2 hours to reach his guru. And then from 4 to until certain hours, regularly. There was no money involved in it. Nobody was paying. It was solely on his own motivation. And without interruption and constant. So that kind of a devotion to something, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you.